my background, I don't, my, like, race? What do you mean? Yeah. Oh, okay. My dad is just plain pure white, I guess, and and my mom is Hispanic, so I'm half Hispanic.
Okay. And what are human rights to you?
Human rights to me is like natural things that you are natural rights that you have as like a human, like respect and freedom and like freedom of speech and the ability to have like your own ideas, I guess. So
have your human rights ever been put in jeopardy, or have they ever been like crossed or something?
not no, not for me.
Okay. And have you seen that happen to other people?
I've seen that happen to other people, but like things like bullying or like where their rights were being violated by being made fun of for what they believed in or who they were, how they were.
Elliot, tell us about yourself.
All right, I'm an 8th grader at the Odyssey School. I've been here for 6 years, and I'm Jewish.
Okay, so tell me, what do you think are human rights?
Human rights are rights that apply to everyone, and they always will. So they're equal rights for everyone.
How do you help how do you help human rights? How would you want to help human rights?
I'd like to help human rights by giving everyone rights, because I know in some areas of the world people are kind of restricted. So, yeah.
Have you ever made a risky choice trying to save your human rights or anybody else's?
Yeah, I've been discriminated against for my religion. So, and that's violating one of the rights, as we studied we studied the UDHR. So, yeah, I have stood up for my own rights.
So, how do you think we can change the world?
How do you think we can change the world?
Yes.
I think we can change the world by giving everyone equal rights and really staying true to that.
Do you think that there are some decisions that you may have regretted before?
Yeah, definitely. I think I've made some decisions that haven't been the brightest, that have maybe violated people's human rights.
Have you ever been a bystander or a perpetrator before?
I've been both. I've been in situations where I've neglected people from groups, and I've also been kind of a bystander, where if I see something happening, I don't necessarily want to be involved.
So, and have you ever been doubtful or scared of being upstairs?
I think it really depends. I haven't personally really been scared to be an upstander, but I think there are situations where you can be scared to be an upstander, depending on what your situation is, of course.
Okay, thank you, Elliot.
All right, thanks, Keon.
So, Isaiah, what are human rights?
Well, I think human rights are basically your knowledges and knowing what you have, your rights as a person. As in, one of my favorite ones are like the right. I think it was like number 16. You have the right to marry whoever you want. As in, I think that was like my favorite one. I guess as a human right.
And what is your opinion on them?
My opinion is just, I guess the best way to use your human rights is in like if something, I guess if there's an issue going on or like something that you see that isn't right going on, I could see you using that human right to kind of like help change your community or something that's going on that you see that's wrong.
Okay, what do you think is the purpose? Like, and have you ever been violated by them?
I guess, yes. I think the purpose of it is just, it's almost kind of like a cheat sheet, I guess, kind of like to help you, know, like, how to protect yourself in a certain ways and kind of like to use your defense or just kind of like ways to use it in a certain way, I guess. I don't know.
And for the final question, how do you think we can change the world?
I think you could change the world by using human rights everywhere, and I think you get a lot smarter as in using them. I think people just use it constantly for like no reason. I think if you learn how to use those human rights in a positive way to help save the world, I think this world wouldn't end up as it is as of right now. I think if we knew our human rights and like how to use it, I think it'd be a lot better.
Second generation survivor of the Vietnam War. I was born in America. Yeah, that's.
What's your economic class?
I'd say I'm kind of middle class. I mean, we're not poor or anything. Like, we're not lower class, but we're not rich either. So we're not higher class, but we're upper class. We're more middle class. We're doing okay.
So what are human rights to you?
Human rights to me are basically rights that you were given as a human that really are inalienable. So like no one can take it away from you, and no one can hold you against them unless you violate their rights. So that's
Have your rights ever been in question, or anybody ever treated you like you haven't had rights?
Not really. I'm never confronted by conflict much. Nothing new kind of conflict that has included my rights as a person.
Not really since I came out of the 8th grade. I mean, not really since I came out of the 3rd grade, because I haven't really been able to control my anger, and that really got me into a lot of trouble.
Okay. How do you think we can change the world?
We can change the world by not being so anti-Semitic and always be able to know when violence is the answer, because violence is never the answer where I come from, but sometimes you have to do stuff. You gotta have to do violence sometimes if you have no choice.
Who has inspired you, or have you inspired yourself to make decisions on your own?
I have never been able to make very good decisions on my own. I've always had to ask my parents or my grandparents to see what they think about something, someone I trust on these kind of decisions.
Oh, okay. Have you always been an upstander, bystander, perpetrator, and why?
Sometimes I've always been a perpetrator, sometimes I feel like I've been a bystander. A few times in these different scenarios, I've become an upstander.
What have you done to change your ways? Speak up. What have you done to change your ways?
Right when I got out of 3rd grade, I changed my ways completely.
What made you change your ways?
Well, I knew that I need to control my anger, because when I was 3rd grade, I got so angry that I almost got sent to court. But I was lucky that I was only 9 years old.
Justice work for probably the last 4 or 5 years. I started out at Colorado Progressive Coalition. I directed their racial justice program, and now I'm working with the Drug Policy Alliance, and I'm the manager for Colorado for the Drug Policy Alliance.
Okay, can you tell us about like your background, your culture, things like that?
I actually grew up pretty much in this neighborhood. I'm from Denver, from Park Hill, African American. Most of my life I did blue collar work, and I decided to go to law school to give myself some more opportunities, and that's when I got involved with social justice work after law school.
Okay. So, what are human rights to you?
Human rights to me are an extension of, y'all want me to look at you or at the camera? At all of y'all, it's okay?
Yeah.
All right, human rights is an extension of civil rights and individual rights. Civil rights and individual rights are rights that people have in regards to how they're treated by the state or by the local government. So for example, it's your rights that you have against the government of Colorado, and the rights that you have against the United States of America as a whole. But human rights are a lot more broad, I think, than civil rights and individual rights. Human rights, I think, encompass the universal right of all people to have food, clothing, and shelter. And all people shouldn't have to work in bad conditions in order to get those food, clothing, and shelter. So human rights is a lot more broader than simple racial justice or simple discrimination. Human rights encompass the universal right to a good life, and that's primarily food, clothing, and shelter.
Okay. And have your human rights ever been violated?
Sure. I mean, my civil rights and my individual rights have definitely been violated. I've been treated wrong by police on occasion. That's a violation of my civil rights and my individual rights as a citizen in this country, or just a person who's in this country. You don't always have to be a citizen to have rights. You can just be if you're in America, you're supposed to have the rights that this country provides. I wouldn't quite say my human rights have been violated. I grew up, I've never really been too hungry. I always have food, clothing, and shelter. So I would say my individual and civil rights, yes, but not really my human rights so far.
Okay. Have you seen anybody else's human rights being violated around you?
I see a lot of people's individual and civil rights being violated daily. I think what the homeless people in this country go through, and what many people who don't have food and don't have a place to live, I think society has a responsibility to help those people out. And so the fact that we have homeless people, and the fact that we have people who have very little in this society, and that they don't have a lot of opportunity, I see that as a violation of their human rights. Oftentimes our government puts focus on things outside of simple human rights, and simply making sure everybody in their society has a certain amount of food, clothing, and shelter. And I think we can do a better job at that. So yeah, I would say homelessness is an example of a violation of human rights.
Okay. Thank you for your time.